Okay, today we're going to talk about how to solve polynomials that have three terms using that tic-tac-toe method. So remember, our goal is to get down to quadratics, because once we're at quadratics or linear, we know how to solve those. You could use the quadratic formula, you could solve linears like normal, whatever it is. So if you start off with this example right here, let me just get 1 second. Okay, so if we start off with this example right here, we see that this is not a quadratic because of this x to the 4th term. So I can't just start doing the quadratic formula because it's not a quadratic. So when there's three terms, I'm going to do the tic-tac-toe method. Okay, to do this method, start off by drawing a tic-tac-toe box, x to the 4th, and I'm just putting those three terms up at the top. Okay, the next thing is, these spaces right here, okay, you need to find two things that multiply together, and they're going to spit out x to the 4th. Okay. So I think to myself, okay, what multiplies to give me x to the 4th? Well, x squared and x squared. So this is going to be x squared. That's going to be x squared. Okay, now for these boxes over here, it's the same thing, but they have to multiply to give me 9. Okay, well, what multiplies to give me 9? Well, let's say you started by thinking 3 and 3. That's fine, because those do multiply together. Okay, here's how the tic-tac-toe method works. You're going to take this spot and multiply it by its diagonal. So x squared times 3 is 3x squared. So you multiply the diagonal, and then you put that piece there. Then you take this spot, multiply by its diagonal. That also gives us 3x squared. And the final thing you do now is you add up the diagonals. Well, that gives me 6x squared. This needs to match with that. It does not, so that means I need to go back to the drawing board to figure out what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to erase that. And that's fine. You can make mistakes. It's no big deal. The nice thing about this method is you'll start becoming a little bit quicker with it. Oops. Okay. Well, usually it comes down to the number being multiplied. So we had 3 times 3 before. Well, those didn't work. What else multiplies? It could be 9. Oh, 9 and 1. Let's try that. Okay, and this is probably the part right here that students forget the most. Remember, you're multiplying the diagonals. So it's this times that. So it gives me x squared. This times that is 9x squared. And together, oh, look at that, 10x squared. So that's it. Now the tic-tac-toe method, my factors turn out to be this and this. So right over here, x squared plus 9. And then this and this, x squared plus 1. And I could set each of these guys equal to 0 and solve it with the quadratic formula or whatever way that you want to there. Because they're quadratics. Okay? So this video doesn't really focus on how to solve a quadratic. It's getting us to the point where we can solve them. But yeah, a few ways you could solve them. Okay, let's go to the next one. Right here. Okay. So again, I'm going to set up my tic-tac-toe box. X to the 4th, 2x squared, negative 8. Okay, what gives you x to the 4th? Oh, x squared. That's nice. Okay, so negative 8. Since we know it's a negative, we know that one of the blocks have to be positive, one has to be negative. Okay, that's fine. So what multiplies to give you 8? I don't know, 4 and 2. And I'm just going to start with negative 4 and 2. Okay. Okay, now multiply the diagonals. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. X squared times negative 4 is negative 4x squared. Okay, add these together, it's negative 2x squared. Here's the nice thing about the tic-tac-toe method. Negative 2x squared is not the same as 2x squared. It is very, very close. They're opposites. So when that happens, you come over to your factors over here, and all we got to do is flip the signs. So instead of negative 4 and 2, I'm going to do 4 and negative 2. And then if we follow what happens, well, that makes this a negative. That makes that a positive, which turns that into a positive, and now it matches. So when you get the number to be the opposite, great. All you got to do is change the sign of those two factors. Okay, so now I can write out its factored form, x squared plus 4, x squared minus 2. And then again, I can set each of those equal to 0 and solve. Okay, we're going to do one more together. Okay, this one's a little bit trickier, but it's okay. Set up our tic-tac-toe box. 3x to the 4th, negative 20x squared, 32. Okay, well, now I have a number in front of the x to the 4th. Well, think to yourself, what multiplies to give 3? Well, 3 and 1. So that would be 3x squared and x squared. There's a really different combination that happens there. Okay, now here's where we got to think for 1 second. I need two numbers that are going to multiply to 32. I can worry about that in a second. But realize they have to multiply to a positive 32, but they're going to be adding to a negative number. What types of numbers multiply together to give you a positive? Well, they're going to have to be two negatives. So that's something to kind of realize right there. You're not going to have a positive and a negative. Two positives are going to be two negatives. Okay, so now think about what multiplies to give you 32. Well, let's try, I don't know, negative 4, negative 8. Let's start there. So I'm putting negative 4 here, negative 8. Okay, then multiply my diagonals, negative 24x squared, negative 4x squared. Add them together, negative 28x squared. Okay, that does not equal negative 20. Now you might be sitting there like, well, can I just flip the signs? Well, in this case, it doesn't really make sense. But if it turns out to be a positive 20x squared, then that's when we flip the signs and do all that. Now, before you go start looking for new numbers, what I suggest you do first, when this happens, is just flip around the 8 and the 4. So I'm going to put a negative 8 up here, because the order does matter with these. So let's see if this works. And then if this doesn't work, then we go try to find a new pair of numbers. Let me erase this stuff. Okay. Diagonals, that's negative 12x squared, negative 8x squared. Oh, would you look at that? That turns out to be, so this erases, negative 20x squared. So that works. So here are my factors. 3x squared minus 8. X squared minus 4. And then you'd set each of these equal to 0 and solve. Okay, hopefully that helped. Be sure to try out the videos that have you practicing them, and then I go through the solutions.